Okay, time for an update on the Corsair. Couple of things. First off, I am working on detailing the cockpit a little bit. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to talk about what I just worked on first. Okay? Putting on the landing gear doors. Now, you can see the front doors. They went on there just fine. Okay? I don't think the model was designed to have these doors up, but at least Revel did something Academy didn't. Whether you have the doors up or down, I mean, if you put the doors up, they at least cover the cavity somewhat. And we're getting to the somewhat. Bottom doors. From the bottom, it looks fine. And then we start going to the side, you see it, big gap. These things don't line up very well at all. Big gap is there because, well, there was a little flap that stuck off the side of that door. So I'm going to have to cut a piece of styrene and cover up that hole. Not a big deal because I have some strip styrene that's almost that exact same width. It's just a little bit fatter. So it won't take much. I'm going to have to do a little bit of sanding work to get these to smooth out because you can see it in the camera. They don't line up very well. Okay? Now let's talk about the cockpit and what I've done. Strip the paint off. That was real simple to do. It just took some alcohol and a piece of paper towel. Since I'm using Tamiya paints, they're alcohol based and it just takes them right off. Now, let me back out so I can stay on camera. Now, what I plan on doing is this. Not sure how feasible this is 100% yet, but I think it might be okay. Let's see how well the camera likes this. You can see that in that corner. Alright, we're giving up on that. I'm going to pause the camera for a minute and unmount it so I can zoom in and show you some of these things up real close. Okay, what we have first is the seat. Originally, this thing was nothing but a big rectangular shaped thing. I took a file and filed it down just so it had some grooves on the side to give it some character. The photos I have of the real seat actually have these grooves for that character. She's kind of discolored because I stripped the paint off of her. Okay, and it doesn't all come up, but it comes up fairly well. I also added some ridges to the side of the seat. Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that through that cockpit, but I feel better doing that. I might also, well, I got to square this up a little bit yet, but I might also put some piping on the side of the seat because there are pipes supporting the headrest. Now, I just knocked this over. This, he had feet at one time. I cut his feet off. He is a Z-scale train figure. I found it at my local big box hobby shop. They were actually closing things out. He's actually a pilot, but not from the era of the Corsair. Much older era. He's got goggles on. Kind of reminds me of Ace of Spades in his photos he has on his profile. But he's going to be my pilot. He fits in the seat just right. He is the same scale as the Corsair. I need to do a little bit of work at getting him leveled out, sanding and filing. I am not going to repaint him. I'm going to leave him with those goofy World War II goggles. Okay? You should be able to see that through the canopy. I think it's going to add character. Anyone looks close enough, they will see that. Now, speaking of detailing the cockpit, so let's get that in here. Alright, on the back, what I plan on doing across the back here is putting some piping, some greeblies, just to give it detail. Now, across the front of this thing, where it's gray, and you can see kind of the V of Mr. Surfacer to level that out, what I'm going to do is this. I got a piece of sheet styrene right here, and right there, and you can see it, is a paper printout of the real instrument panel from a Corsair. Okay? Now, my printer doesn't have that great a resolution. This is 110 scale. That's going to be really hard to see. And it looks kind of blotchy right now because I didn't make a decal of this. I could have. I decided instead of a decal, I was going to cut it out on paper and glue that on there with some PVA white glue. That's not really white glue, that's some microscale crystal clear. I like that stuff better than PVA white glue. And I glued it down with it, and then I put a coat of glue over it to kind of protect it. Okay? I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to build a little canopy to go over the top of this thing, so it's going to bubble up a little bit, because the real one has a U shape across here, a concave shape. So I'm going to build a concave shape out of sheet styrene and put that at the end of the sheet styrene. I'm also going to put a tiny heads-up display in there, because the real Corsair has a heads-up display. You can see a notch at the top of the instrument panel. If we put the instrument panel this way, okay, there's a notch at the top of that. That notch is where the heads-up display goes. So I'm going to cut that notch out and put the heads-up display there. It's kind of yellowish. I'm going to take a piece of the clear yellow sprue from the 747 Space Shuttle and make my heads-up display with that. Now, the concave shape I'm putting on the nose of this, I may make that out of construction paper. I may make that out of the styrene. This is really thin styrene and it's really easy to work with. So I may make it out of this. What I'll probably do is make it out of construction paper first and then use that as a pattern for the styrene, because I can screw up the construction paper for 13 billion times and not care. Well, there's our update on the Corsair, where I stand. I'm going to drill a hole for the display base in the bottom of this. Later this week, I'm going to clean up the landing gear a little bit. I'm going to fix those holes on both sides. We'll get the cockpit done and mask the canopy, and we'll be getting close to paint. I'd say I've probably got another 2 or 3 hours worth of work on this before she's ready for paint, and that'll take me a few days. Well, there's an update. Thank you.